Hey everyone, now I didn't know the man personally, but based on anything that I heard about the man, he definitely sounded like a reasonable person, someone who will staunchly defend the lowly working class or just the average man or woman in this country. And people who go into politics who have that kind of sensibility are a rare breed. Which is why I had tremendous respect for the man, even though, yeah, he had some baggage, but hey, who among us don't? You show me the first perfect human being, and I'll show you a liar or a complete fraud. So it's nice to see that even though the man has passed and is no longer with us, it looks like his wife's going to step up and try to carry that mantle, try to carry that torch. Headline out of CBC News, Toronto, Renata Ford will be a candidate for Maxime Bernier's People's Party of Canada. Wife of controversial late former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford will seek election in Etobicoke, Ontario. It's being reported by Lauren Pelly, June 21st, 2019. And of course the CBC would use the negative connotation of controversial late Rob Ford, right? Wouldn't want to paint that man in a positive light. And why would that be? Because he challenged the status quo, the ruling establishment, and defended the average person in this country, which is something that the ruling elite don't align with and don't very much appreciate. Renata Ford, the wife of late former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford and sister-in-law of Ontario's Premier Doug Ford, is running as a candidate for Maxime Bernier's People's Party of Canada in the October federal election, CBC News has confirmed. I do find it a bit suspicious, right? Think about this. But I've always knew all along, even though I don't really bring that up, or I haven't brought it up in my videos, but I did know all along that it seemed like Rob Ford was the more principled of the two. And I know you can say that, okay, yeah, he had some drug thing or did some... Listen, that don't mean nothing. Someone that has some personal vices or something that they use to deal with whatever their circumstance. Like I say, I don't judge people based on that stuff. But it did seem like out of the two, that Rob was the most compassionate, the more of the man of the people kind of a guy, right? Doug's trying to carry that torch, but I think it shined much brighter when Rob was carrying it, to be honest with you. And I really do hope his wife can do a better job than Dougie's doing so far. And the fact that she's choosing to run for the People's Party of Canada as opposed to the Conservative Party of Canada or the Conservative Party of Ontario, that speaks volumes as far as I'm concerned. Ford officially announced she is the PPC candidate for Etobicoke North on Friday at a party event in downtown Toronto. After a period of trials and tribulations, I'm healthier and I'm more ready than ever, she told a crowd gathered at the Royal Canadian Military Institute. The time is right for me now to run to be a member of Parliament. She was introduced as one of 39 candidates the party will put forward to voters in the Greater Toronto Area in the fall campaign, and was the only party member granted time at the podium after Bernier and the event's MC. Speaking to reporters, Bernier said Ford approached his team and decided to run. She would bring common sense and her ability to work with people to the party, Bernier said. Alongside her support for Bernier's push to lower taxes, Ford explained the personal reason behind her decision. I found that Bernier is passionate, just as much as my husband was, on the real issues that concern Canadians, and he's not afraid to stand up. Right on. A candidate biography provided by the party described Ford as a primary contributor to Rob Ford's time at City Hall, from handing out fridge magnets with their home phone number and fielding calls to helping organize the popular Ford Fest events. Indeed, from 2010 to 2014, Ford stood by her late husband throughout his tumultuous term as mayor, but kept a low profile as he gained international notoriety for substance abuse, including his stunning 2013 admission that he had smoked crack cocaine. In recent years, she also made headlines of her own. After pleading guilty to impaired driving in 2018, Ford was sentenced to 3 years of probation and 100 hours of community service, and also issued a 2-year driving ban and a $1,100 fine for a 2016 incident. So here we go, right? You got to find something negative to use to, like, this is what the establishment media does. And would they do this for anyone that's part of the liberals or part of the leftist collectivists or the rulers establishment in this country? You know they wouldn't. They'd be all positive and praise, right? But once again, someone's challenged the status quo or the establishment. This is what you get as a consequence, as a result, from those hacks in the establishment media in this country. And that's why more and more Canadians are starting to recognize and realize that the CBC News and that platform, it's basically just the propagandist arm of leftists, collectivists, and definitely the liberals in this country. And they're not even liberals. Let's be honest here, folks. They're collectivists. They're authoritarian collectivists, leftists. It's a sad reality that they still get to use the banner or the term liberal. to describe them, because the only thing liberal about them is their propagation of authoritarianism and collectivism. She also launched a multi-million-dollar lawsuit last year against her brother-in-law Doug and Randy Ford and their family businesses, claiming she and her children were bilked out of millions of dollars. Ford said her run isn't about needing money, but confirmed to CBC News that the lawsuit was still making its way through the court system. When it was first filed, the Ontario Premier, who was then just PC leader, told reporters he was shocked by the allegations, which came out shortly before the June provincial election. Our family has always stood behind the kids, always stood behind Renata. We never wavered, he said. Anyways, folks, I'm not going to read much more from this article. As a matter of fact, no, I'm not going to read anything more from this article, because you know what they're going to do in this. It's the CBC. They're just going to use rhetoric to talk down about this lady for, once again, like I said, daring to challenge the status quo. As much as I think Doug has done at least some decent stuff, yeah, he's very much in the gray area, right? He's like I don't know, he pretends to be a conservative and a man of the people, but once again, the reality just doesn't match up with the rhetoric. He's not his brother, Rob. I see Doug as a little bit more opportunistic, but don't make no mistake about it, folks. He's not the savior for Ontario. But he did at least come to power at a time that helped push the Liberals out of power, and that's something that we should definitely appreciate him for. Of course, I think a statue or even a picture standing up on the stage could have beat Kathleen Wynne in the last Ontario election, because what that woman and her party did to the province of Ontario, like I say, it didn't take much, it didn't require much as far as a challenge for the Ontarian people to say, nah, we don't want any more of that stuff. We're going elsewhere. And yeah, they chose to support Doug Ford. But like I say, Doug is not Rob Ford, and maybe this Renata lady will step up the plate and not only help out Maxime, the People's Party of Canada, and putting this country on a better path, but maybe show a little more leading by example on her end and give Doug a little something to aspire to. Hey, we can always dream, we can always hope. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.